Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and welcome to episode 208 of my weekly Q&A show titled The People's Questions, where I answer all the awesome questions that my viewers have sent me over the past week. This time we got a much shorter episode than I believe last week, coming from only about 4 of you guys, so I think that's pretty cool and organized. Jump right into the first 3 questions coming from my regular of mine going by the name of Santiago Starpino. And you want to know who would win in a fight between James T. Kirk and the 7th Doctor? I think James T. Kirk would have it. I think he's just... in terms of actual physical combat, I think he has a lot more experience than the 7th Doctor. Not to say that none of the Doctors have fighting experience. There are some that definitely have more than others, but I think that his is a little bit more updated. And it's fair to say that Captain Kirk is probably a little bit more properly trained than the 7th Doctor. So that's why I say Kirk would probably end up winning that fight. Next question is, do I believe in the cloud killed Aerith theory? This is my this is my favorite question of the episode. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, the cloud killed Aerith theory states that, for those of you who don't know, when Sephiroth supposedly stabbed Aerith, it didn't actually kill her. It stabbed her in a specific section of the spine, therefore paralyzing the top section of her body, making it seem like she was already dead. And Cloud, not knowing this, picked up her body, took her to a pool of water, dumped her, and she sank. Now, anyone who knows anything about dead bodies knows that dead bodies, unless they're weighted down, don't sink. They float because there's no air left in the body. The functions of the body, the organs aren't operating, so it's weightless. Here's the problem with that theory. One needs to know and understand how exactly Sephiroth's sword operates. Anyone who knows Final Fantasy, or at least Sephiroth's sword well enough, knows that that sword has a number of dark properties. Look it up. The Masamune sword actually has an ability stating that if Sephiroth actually concentrates the dark energy of the sword, it can literally kill just about anyone with one hit. Now, the only reason why certain characters have been able to survive being impaled and cut by it is simply because Sephiroth wasn't concentrating the energy at the time. This explains why Tifa was able to survive when she was 16. It explains how Zack was able to survive getting hit by this. And it explains how Cloud was able to survive getting impaled by this thing twice. Sephiroth was not concentrating the energy during those times. When he went to kill Aerith, he was concentrating the dark energy and it instantly killed her. So, no, I thought it was a fun theory to listen to, but I knew better. Your last question is, who would win in a fight between Virgil from Devil May Cry 3 or Alucard from pretty much the Castlevania X series? Virgil. As powerful as Alucard is, Virgil's got way too many abilities that would completely overwhelm Alucard. I mean, I would go so far as to say Virgil would be able to take down Dracula from that game fairly easily. So if he can take down someone like Dracula as easily as I know he can, then Alucard would not even really be much of a challenge. The next few questions come from Phil the Darkness March, and you want to know, how about this matchup? Credo versus Lady. That's a little tough. I'd say Credo probably has a little bit of advantage over Lady, unless she found a way to outmaneuver him and get past his shield. If she could do that, then she might get one up on him. But the odds of that, in my opinion, are very, very unlikely, because Credo is fairly tough. And even for someone like Nero, who had the demonic arm of his, it was a very difficult fight for him. So I have a hard time seeing that she would be able to pull it off. Although, if you've played the new Devil May Cry 4 game, you can actually play out that fight. So I guess that was just in the sake of gameplay. But I think a real fight between the two, I think Credo would end up winning that fight. Your next question is, do I think there should be a Final Fantasy anime? Technically, there has actually been a couple of animes. They weren't very good, and I believe there was only like 2 VHS movies that were animes. It was a Final Fantasy thing, it was a little thing, but the problem with doing a Final Fantasy anime is it going to be its own separate story? Is it going to connect to a video game? Final Fantasy stories don't generally do well unless they are game related, so it's very difficult to make a standalone anime Final Fantasy story by itself interesting without us having the ability to play it. Or at least that's just from my experience. And the last question is, how about a fight between Leon S. Kennedy and Barry? Oh god, that is sad. Leon would whoop his ass so much more, that fat tub of lard. I mean, no offense to all the Barry fans, but he's not really in the best shape to be going up against a complete total badass like Leon S. Kennedy, who is more than capable of going head-to-head with someone like Krauser, and Krauser would be able to bitch-slap Chris Redfield up and down the battlefield quite easily. So, yeah, it's a funny thought, but Leon would win hands down. That's not even a thought. The next 3 questions coming from Waleed Malik, hope I said your name right, and you want to know, which of these 3 heroes do I rate the most, and which one do I which do I relate the most to, and which one do I most relate to between Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman? Okay, I definitely relate more to Batman, and then followed by Spider-Man. I relate the least most to Superman. I don't think I have that, you know, Boy Scout personality that Superman is famous for. I certainly am nothing like that. I do have a bit of a dark side to me if you piss me off, but, you know, I can be a bit of an ass at times, which is very reminiscent to Batman, but heck, that's only if I'm in a really bad mood. Your next question is, which version do I prefer most, the Ultimate Spider-Man or the Amazing Spider-Man, and why? I prefer more the Amazing Spider-Man simply because it's classic. I like Peter Parker. Ultimate Spider-Man does have its moments, but I just don't believe its storylines are as engaging for me as the Amazing Spider-Man does. I understand that there's a large fan base for Ultimate Spider-Man, but just for me, I gotta stick with the classics. The classic of any character usually always ends up being the best version, but that's just from my experience of reading comic books. And your last question, which I know you had a 4th one, but check the comments of the last video because I only do 3 questions per person, so look out for that one for your 4th question. But your 3rd one was, am I excited for Civil War and have I read the comic for it? Yes, I have read the comic for Civil War. Am I excited for it for the film? Not really. It's just going to be probably another Marvel film. I'm going to watch it maybe once and never really watch it again. That's really the status quo of comic book movies today, aside from Deadpool, which I've already seen that 3 times. The problem with this Civil War is that it's not nearly going to be as good as the comic book because they don't have all the parts. And although they might have a bit of the soul essence of what Civil War is about, you really need those large groups to make it count. I mean, they've already stated that maybe 2 characters in this film are going to die. My guess is probably War Machine and maybe another character we're going to be introduced to, but none of those deaths really mean anything. I highly doubt they're going to kill Captain America. It's possible, but I wouldn't be surprised if they change that. I mean, they're not going to... Marvel does not have the balls to kill off a character that they can make money off of. And that's just how Marvel works. They can't run their story and be faithful to the storyline. They have to operate like a business. And so if they can drag something out as long as they can to make the most money, that's how those stories will play out. So that's just my initial feelings on the film itself. And the last question comes from Angel of Death. And you want to know, who would win in the eating contest, Shaggy or Jughead? Well, I have no idea who Jughead is, so I guess Shaggy, because the man is like literally next to Scooby, an eating machine, and seems to be able to burn off that weight pretty quickly. Don't know how, but heck, I think that's who would win. And with that, those are all the questions that you guys sent for me for this particular episode. I'd like to thank the 4 of you for making this episode possible. If you guys have any more questions you would like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them into me before next week, before I start filming this episode. Make sure you limit it to only 3 questions per person, just so I can get these videos done a lot quicker and edit them a lot faster. And with that out of the way, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.